Escobedo, good morning.
Good morning. Lovely to be here.
Very nice to meet you. Perhaps we can start with your background and what inspired you to create Les Langues du Monde.
Yes, absolutely. I was born in Mexico City. I lived there until I was 15. Then my family immigrated to Canada, Victoria, Vancouver area. I was in high school and university, but I also spent a year in England in a boarding school and a year in Italy. So very different
Very global.
cultures. And after university in Toronto, I came to Japan, and I was very lucky to live in Fukushima-ken, Soma, a little tiny town by the sea, beautiful, lovely, lovely people for 2 years. I was an English teacher. Then I worked in Tokyo helping a big shacho, and I went from being a admired teacher, a sensei, to actually being an office worker, which was dramatically different.
I'm sure.
And after that, I went to France, where I've been living for the last 30 years. So my whole life has been a wonderful adventure of passion for cultures and living in different countries and different ideas, different beliefs.
So this led you to create Les Langues du Monde to professionalize. I mean, what your professional part and your studies. Can you tell us about Les Langues du Monde specifically? What does it do and what problem does it solve and how does it work?
Yes, absolutely. We began actually as a language school because that was my background in Japan and in Australia. I also lived in Australia for a year and a half. And we began helping top level executives with English. And very soon there were foreigners in Paris, and we taught French. And then we expanded to Belgium, Luxembourg, and Switzerland. And they start to ask us to do translations, which is a completely different job from teaching languages. So we created two departments. And very quickly we realized that people wanted to communicate. It's not just language, it's the culture behind. How do the business people think? How does it work? And from there, we created the third department, which is multicultural business corporate awareness. And finally, we went to executive coaching, which we only work with people who worked in business for many years, who live in the new country, who can actually explain you're Italian and I'm Italian, you are French and I'm French, or you're Japanese and I'm Japanese. So I know where you're coming from, I know what you're thinking, and I'm going to help you with a new country.
Okay.
So in 30 years, we developed these four departments.
So if we focus on Japan, we know that the Japanese working environment now is facing globalization and companies are hiring foreigners. I mean, Japanese executives are going abroad. What are for you the specific challenges in the Japanese environment within Japanese companies or global companies working in Japan?
Yes, absolutely. In leadership skills, I was in Harvard just this last summer for 1 month, learning even more about international competence. It's very important to understand how other countries work. And in Japan, we have a big difference between, for example, leadership. Is it egalitarian? Do you come from a country like Holland, Finland, Denmark, where as a boss, you're almost like a friend?
Uh-huh.
Or in Japan, you come from a very hierarchical point.
Yeah.
So we help foreigners here to be more hierarchical, to show that they are the leaders, they are the bosses, they should know what they're doing. This will create more respect than if you're too friendly.
Mm.
Decision making, very, very different. In Western countries, very often the decisions are made very quickly. There's a quick discussion, brainstorming. These are things that don't exist in Japan. You need to actually have a lot of foresight, send an email, say, in 2 weeks' time,
Uh-huh.
I would like to speak about these points. And we can learn a lot about Japanese culture because if you think before you even send that email, then your questions are already very pertinent.
Uh-huh.
You, as a leader, have thought about them. And 2 weeks later, the meeting will happen and everybody will have already discussed. They've seen the pros, the cons, and your meeting will be very fast because decisions have already been made. And the really wonderful thing is that the implementation will be very quick. People have even started acting upon it.
Mhm.
So we have a lot to learn as Western countries. And these are just two things on how we work. There's project management, there's hierarchy, there's leadership. And it's very important to see that depending where you come from, some things will match. Maybe the leadership is similar, but the project management is very different. Evaluations. Do you begin by congratulating someone and you do a big thing and congratulating them? A French person will think they're doing a fantastic job.
Mhm.
An American will be waiting for the little part after, which is where he really has to improve.
Mhm.
So different countries are very different from each other. And in Japan, there's not only French Americans and Italians, there's also a very big population from China, from Korea, from India. So, how we will personalize our help to each individual corporation depending on the international people they have.
So let's take perhaps a few concrete examples. I mean, I've heard you work with LVMH and other companies. What are the, without mentioning specific names, but what are do you have cases of fixing a problem or of implementing a solution where everybody feels happy and rewarded and move forward?
Yes, a very interesting example, for example, is an international company based in Spain, but it's very big. So they have a regional manager for Asia who is from Hong Kong. And this is a 45-year-old woman who is brilliant, has amazing results, and works very well with China, with Hong Kong, with Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand. Wonderful results. However, it's a disaster in Japan.
Uh-huh.
She's seen as being very aggressive, very forward, only result oriented. She has no patience, and she gets very angry in all the meetings.
Uh-huh.
The Japanese, who come from a low context society, are not very direct.
Yeah.
They're used to working with people that understand where they're coming from. So they have difficulty in being more direct, in sending statistics, in giving straightforward information. And instead, they say in an email, please be patient.
Yeah.
So the Hong Kong person gets even more frustrated.
Yeah.
So we are working at 3 levels. We have a workshop for the Japanese to better understand how the Western, and not even Western, now we're talking about Chinese mentality, which is also extremely direct the way Americans can be,
Or Indian, I guess,
or Indian as well, yes. So we will help the Japanese team to understand, and then we have executive coaching with the Hong Kong lady to say, you are amazing. Your leadership style has worked very well in many countries, but how do you feel about your leadership in Japan? Is it working? What have you done? How have you changed? So it's important for the leader to analyze themselves, to think, maybe I'm not doing exactly what I should be doing. So please help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to begin with curiosity, with a willingness to know how the other country works. And in the end, it will make you grow and it will make productivity and results to be better.
Did you find a good way to deal with the implicit part of Japanese communication? Of you have to guess, or you should be able to guess what the person does not tell you? How do you deal with that part?
That indeed is very difficult because you don't belong to the culture. And we have the iceberg theory, which is very good. When you travel, you see the top of the iceberg. You see the music, you eat the food, you see the way people are dressed, you go to the temples, but you don't see what is under the water. And just underneath, we have traditions, the way we act, how do you respond, how do you act with older people. In Thailand, you don't touch the head of a child. And then much deeper down, you get into the deep beliefs, the values. So to understand this is difficult. If you are a business person arriving in Japan, you will not know any of this. So what we do is really help you to understand Japan from a deep side. This is an island. Tokyo has 35 million people. There are more people in Tokyo than all of Canada, which is the largest country in the world today. Harmony, it's very important. You cannot be so many people without harmony. But there are differences. What is the harmony at work? The hierarchy is very important. So then the foreigners feel there is no harmony. It can be very samurai like. So, with our experts, we are able to go deep into these implicit ideas. And your question is very good because how do we help them? It's not a 2 hour conference, it's not a 3 hour explanation. This is the beginning. After that, our coaches will help someone for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. And every 2 weeks, the executive coaches who studied at Stanford, at INSEAD in France, who really know about leadership, emotions, emotional intelligence, every 2 weeks they will say, how is it working? How are things developing with your team? Did you try the new skills? Who did it work with? Who did it not work with? So after 4, even after 3 months, the client says, it was an amazing help to have an outsider, completely confidential person. I could complain, I could show my frustration. And after every hour with this expert from my country, but who lives in Japan, was able to explain to me, give me tools, real tools, as to how I can better understand the people I'm working with.
And how do you do on the Japanese side? With Japanese, we touch a lot of foreigners in Japan. On the Japanese side, how do you help them?
They're a lot more open than they used to be. When they work for a foreign company, they realize I am Japanese, we are in Japan, but I am working for a foreign company. The young people tend to be a lot more open, but we help the older people. Sometimes we call them the dinosaurs, but they are people who know a lot. They
Yeah.
are at the basis of the Japanese society. So they're also curious. They want to know how it works. And we explain that in our countries, for example, decision making is faster, that it is okay to say things, and that for us, you will never lose face. On the other hand, you are expressing different ideas, different ways of doing, and together we can come with the best solutions.
So, Japanese companies are not famous for their practice of English. Is the lack of English or the level of English that is not on top with other nations, is it a problem? And how do you go around this problem?
It is a very big problem because if you come from an implicit society, you're already very vague,
Mm.
you're already not direct, and you don't have the words to explain. It is a problem. So, in Japan, you have so many nationalities that the focus should not even be Japanese, it should be English.
Yeah.
And this is why our first department, which was learning English or languages, is essential. It's important to use the common language with as much clarity as possible. And we help leaders to prepare their presentations, their telephone calls. It's not an academic class, it's very focused on what are you presenting next week? You have a phone call with someone. What are you worried about? What do you want to say and what do you not want to say? So, this simulations and practice is very hands on. And the day you actually do what you want to do, you practiced a lot. You have the good words, you have the nuance. Maybe we give you a little joke to begin with to break the ice. And this is extremely important to give confidence. And if you have confidence, you look like you show how bright you are, you show your good ideas, and this relationship now brings trust.
Finally, perhaps, are there a few advice you would give to leaders or to executives to like first steps to truly work in any global environment? Are there a couple of rules that they should follow before calling Les Langues du Monde?
Yes, there are very good things that one can do. First of all, to be very curious, to want to learn, to come with a humble mind, knowing that what you did before or what you did in your country is not necessarily going to work in the new country. Reading, watching YouTube sessions, anything you can do to learn before you get there is very important. So, curiosity, humbleness, learning, that's incredibly important. And also attending seminars, conferences, workshops, and getting the help of an expert who knows the rope is very important.
Ana Escobedo, thank you very much.
Well, thanks to you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's wonderful to work with a chamber that is very, very helpful, and delighted to do this interview. Thanks so much to you.
Thank you.